Hello, and welcome to Music Minute. I'm Kevin Barger. Thank you for joining us here at Epiphany Lutheran Church in Richmond, Virginia. This is our chance to take an in-depth look at the online hymns for our worship tomorrow. And we're going to start with an oldie. This was written somewhere between 1623 and 1630. It's "O God, Our Faithful God." This will be our sending hymn tomorrow. And it's another of those hymns that was translated by Catherine Winkworth. You might remember we talked about her just a couple weeks ago, actually, in another hymn that she had translated. And I'm going to quote this next one. It contrasts the ever-flowing fountain of God, with whom nothing is, with the speck of humanity, who nonetheless confidently as God to turn with compassion to us and prosper our handiwork. That's a lot of words there, but basically, as such, those words as they were written has been called this poet's probably master hymn, and one of his greatest pieces of work. So that's good. The tune is one of those 17th century tunes with many names that we've talked about before. And so we're going to go through. You'll get a very basic version of the hymn first, and then a little bit of an arrangement on that with different harmonies. So this is "O God, Our Faithful God." So not too hard to sing, as are most of those from that time period. So we're going to move on over to the piano now, and I'll talk about that one first. So our gathering hymn tomorrow is "In the Cross of Christ I Glory," and it's based on Galatians 6:14. The interesting piece about this is this hymn was written by a Unitarian. However, it is used universally by Trinitarians. So that's kind of a fun little fact. The author claims that he could read 200 languages and speak 100 languages. We don't know if that's true. Of course, we can't go back and figure that out at this point. He worked as an economist, and the composer who wrote the tune named it for a soprano soloist, and that was a soprano soloist in the church where he served as the organist. And that's Ithamar Conkey was the organist that we're talking about there, and this was in a Baptist church. So we're going to go over to the piano now and hear "In the Cross of Christ I Glory." also the tune Rathbun, whom I never knew was named for a soprano soloist. So we're going to finish up with Holy God, Holy and Glorious. This would definitely be the newest hymn of our week. So this was actually written in 2000, and it was not written as a hymn, believe it or not. It was written as a poem. And it was actually written for Paul Nelson, who served as the director for worship in the division of worship at the ELCA in Chicago. And Susan Briel, who wrote the text for this, actually said that she was writing this as a poem gift to Paul. So Paul Nelson died then in 2000 as she was writing this, and I think it was about 3 weeks maybe after she had written it that he died. As a hymn, it tells what Martin Luther would have termed the theology of the cross, and so you can check the words out for that. And the tune name is Nelson, as you might have guessed, named for Paul Nelson. The tune written by Robert Buckley Farley after, of course, the words had been written. So this is Holy God, Holy and Glorious. You can feel, and you'll notice tomorrow as you're singing the hymn, if you're not familiar with it, it's maybe not as flowing as you would think of as a hymn. It has an odd meter, is what we call that. So it was really quite incredible and dynamic that Robert Buckley Farley was able to piece that piece of poetry into this meter and with this new tune. So thanks again for joining us tonight. We'll be here tomorrow in person at 10 o'clock. This is the last week for 10 o'clock before we switch on the 14th to 2 services in person. So if you're coming, tomorrow is at 10 here in the sanctuary. And if you're joining us online, that's at 10:30 here on YouTube and Facebook. Thanks again for joining us, and have a great week.